back to my channel. My name is Andree. If you haven't been here before, hi, welcome. My video today is going to be about the texture release, and I get a ton of questions about the texture release, a ton of questions. So I thought today I would do a questions and answers, what the texture release is there a difference between the texture release and the relaxer. I have done 3 videos about this previously, which are part 1, part 2, part 3, but those are spread across from 2019 all the way to 2020. So I thought I'd do an updated version because since then I have done a ton more of texture releases, and it's a lot more popular than it used to be. So I want you guys to be able to find various information, because I don't think that people actually talk about what the texture release is, what it isn't, etc, etc. So I hope that you can bear with me, because this is going to be quite a long video. Well, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to read from my notes, because I wrote extensive notes so that this video could be as thorough as possible. I know that though I'm a hairdresser, there's a lot of things I could forget, which is why I had a part 1, part 2 and part 3 of the previous texture release video. So this one I'm going to use the comment section below as a forum for you guys to have any questions that you might have, because I probably won't do another video about this unless they completely change what the texture release is and there needs to be an update. But I probably won't do another one for a couple of years. So please use the comment section as a way of getting any updated information. Look at the date, look at the time that it was done, and I'll make sure that I answer any questions that come up under this video. So this is the video, yeah? So the first things first, I'm going to read what the texture release is, and then I'm going to go into it and simplify it for everybody. Texture release is a heat-activated smoothing system that features amino acids and conditioning agents that cross-link deep into the hair fibers to enable styling versatility, enable clients to have optional textural change with increased combing manageability. The texture release is formulated specifically for naturally curly hair. This system is designed to provide additional moisture and conditioning for your hair and scalp. So I'm going to start off by explaining what the texture release is, as I do through my consultations at the salon. So a texture release is an amino acids based product, and in my experience it's not as strong as that of keratin. Though it does have keratin in it, the main ingredients is amino acids. What I find with the texture release is that if you are seeking manageability with your hair, i.e. if you're looking for something that's anti-humidity, if you're looking for something that helps with frizz, if you're looking for something that helps you manage your hair better all around, if you're looking for your hair to dry better, if you're looking for your hair to ultimately be an easier ride for you because you found it difficult up until this point, or you're fed up, or whatever the reasons may be, a texture release is something that you may be eligible for. And one of the main things that I always hear is, if you are someone who seeks to have a silk press from time to time, but when you do have a silk press, it does not last more than a day or 2, then the texture release will elongate that for you. And the reason why I say elongate is because everyone's hair is different. Everyone has different hair practices with their hair. So to say that it's going to last a long time is not realistic to that of everyone's hair type. So I would say it would elongate what you already find happens to your hair. So if your silk press lasts 10 days, it can last longer. If your silk press only gets past 1 day, it will definitely go past that. So that's like in a nutshell what a texture release does. So something that I don't think everyone knows is that the texture release can be worn in 3 different ways. So the first way is blow dried. As you know, the texture release does have to be heat activated, so there has to be some contact with heat for the product to work. So that may be blow drying, and that may be using straighteners. The first way is blow dried, and that normally consists of people leaving the salon with their hair in a twist out but having been blow dried. So you go through the whole process of the texture release, and then you're blow dried, wet back down and twisted, but the heat activation would mean that you still have a texture release in your hair. Number 2, versatile. And versatile literally means what it says in the title. You can wear it both straight and curly. and you leave the salon with it either straight or curly. And that could mean it's straightened 3 to 5 times per section, or have it, as I mentioned, in a blow dry state. Third option is just straight. And that's somebody that says at the beginning, I want to be straight. I'm tired of wearing my hair in a curly state. I want to switch it up. I want to wear my hair in a straight way. And that means that we're going over your hair between 5 to 7 times. You will leave the salon with your hair straight, with the intention of always wearing your hair straight. Now I'm going to explain what the repercussions of the two latter options are so that you better understand. If you decide to go for a versatile texture release, what you need to remember is that the texture release versatile means that you can wear your hair curly and straight. I personally love this option, and this is the option that I had. And what I say for people who wear their hair like this is, if you're straightening your hair, have a break and wear your hair curly. And then you can straighten your hair again and have a break and wear your hair curly. I always say, if you're going to be wearing your hair straight for 6 weeks, try and wear your hair curly for 6 weeks. If you're going to be wearing your hair straight for 2 weeks, try and wear your hair curly for 2 weeks. The more you straighten your hair, the more it will stay straight. And that happens without the texture release. If you straighten your hair a lot, your hair will become used to being straight and it will get straight up easier. But you may experience heat damage, and that doesn't mean that the texture release is exempt from that, because remember, it enhances. So if something is enhancing something, it means that your risk of heat damage is higher. And I need people to understand this part of the video the most. If you want to have a texture release and you want to wear your hair straight, please remember that you are in a higher risk of having heat damage. And I say this with love. So one of the things that I always say, heat protectant is a must. But not only that, I've come up with something that I say to my clients all the time. For the first 2 inches of your hair around the perimeter, which is the high risk area of heat damage, make sure you section that bit out first after blow drying, and you press that first at lower heat, and then you can go ahead and use higher heat on the crown and the inside of the hair. But the outskirts, always use lower heat. There is a gauge of heat which I will put on the sides for fine hair, medium hair and thicker hair, but I always give the same advice to everybody. You don't want to have that heat damage, so that's that. Now the steps of a texture release are really simple. First, we have a shampoo. So we normally clarify your shampoo with our shampoo, and that's to get rid of anything in your hair. Then the second step is we use the texture release shampoo, and we do about 2 or 3 washes with that, and that also helps clarify your hair. Then we apply a product called hair dilator, and what hair dilator does is it preps your hair for the releasing lotion. We do that for 20 minutes. So we dry it into the hair, then air dry it into the hair again, and then we apply the releasing lotion. The releasing lotion is left on for 30 minutes, and after that we rinse your hair, and then we blow dry and continue with your service as you wish for it to be done. That's the texture release. It can take anything between 2, 3 or 4 hours. It's a long treatment. There's a lot of steps, but they're swift. But depending on how long your hair is, you are looking at a 2-hour, 3-hour or 4-hour service. So be ready. Bring snacks. Don't be surprised. Bring them snacks. So some questions that I get all the time. Here I'm going to explain. A texture release is not a texturizer. A texturizer is a relaxer. A texture release is not quite a keratin treatment, though it shares similarities to that of a keratin treatment, and it has been marketed differently. So some people may call a texture release a keratin treatment, but it is a smoothing system, and it falls under smoothing systems made for afro hair. In this section, I'm going to talk about my experience with the texture release and what I found to be helpful and what might help you guys. First got the texture release, I hated it. I didn't love it. I thought it made my hair really dry, and I got the texture release in 2014. Hated it. And I hated it for many, well, not many reasons, but two main reasons. I had a keratin treatment before that was sent to me by a PR company when I used to blog, and it completely made my hair drop out, and I had to shave my hair and start again. So I already had PTSD from that experience, and I was so glad that I tried it on myself and not a client, because it made my hair super dry, and it was absolutely not made for my hair. So once I got the texture release, that was the anxiety that I had, because I'd grown my hair to a point where I was happy, and I just wanted to have a bit more versatility with my hair. It was a new product that had come out probably a year prior to that, and I didn't really have that much knowledge on it. And as a hairdresser, I do like to understand things a lot more, sometimes on myself before I rant and rave about it, because sometimes we just be doing stuff because we've been trained on it. And I back then really wanted to immerse myself in the products and understand what they meant, what they did, before I started promoting it. So I did it on myself. So of course immediately after, I didn't love it. One thing that I found when I first did it is how dry my hair looked, and which I now understand was because my hair was dehydrated. That was dehydration. Now, and I'll have slides or pictures so you can understand my journey. Then right after that, I then went and had a few days where it started to settle and it started to look cute, and I liked it, but there was something that was missing for me. And at that time, texture release, you couldn't wash it for I think 5 to 7 days so that the product will settle into your hair. Again, very similar to a keratin treatment. So I waited, and then I washed my hair, and that's when the magic happened. That's when I fell in love with the texture release. So I silk pressed again, and my hair looked like a relaxer. You couldn't tell me I didn't have a relaxer. I loved it from that moment on. My hair was super soft. It reverted back. My curls dropped ever so slightly, but what I found is that my curls accepted moisture a little bit more. And when I say that, I mean that they accepted products a bit more. So my wash and goes made sense. Things that I felt took a lot of effort didn't take as much effort, and it just made my life easy. My hair dried really quickly. I wasn't spending, you know, a night and a day washing my hair, twisting it and doing all of these things. Everything just took under an hour and a half, and not because I was just wearing it straight. Both curly and straight, my life just made more sense. And I found that I could retain length because my hair wasn't knotting, my hair wasn't doing all the things that it did before, which meant that every 3 months I felt like I was starting again or having to chop off quite a lot of my hair. It felt more like a dust. So I did this I did 2 texture releases during the time that I did it, in the 18 months that I did it, and one was 9 months later after my first. And a lot of the time I wore wigs and I wore my hair out for 6 weeks, and I wore wigs and I wore my hair out for 6 weeks, and I wore wigs and I wore my hair out for 6 weeks, and I would wear my hair curly and straight. So my experience of the texture release was that my hair grew not super long, but it grew to about a chin length bob. And I think I had clip-ons at the front, but I absolutely loved my texture release experience. And from that experience, I feel like I can give a lot more insight of how a client would feel about it. So I like to give people a heads up about how they might feel or what they might find. During the process of a texture release, you might be thinking, what am I spending all this money for? Because it doesn't really feel like anything until it's heat activated. I'm not going to lie to you. It doesn't feel like anything is happening until the straightener taps on that hair 2 times, and then you feel and see your hair change texture momentarily. It's a fantastic feeling. It looks great. Next up, would I recommend the texture release to everybody? No. Not everyone needs everything. It just depends on what point you are at in your hair life. If you want a texture release to really work on your hair, personally, I wouldn't do it all the time. I recommend, depending on the texture of the hair, once a year, twice a year, but no more than 3 times a year. If you feel like you need a texture release, wait another month or 2. And that's just the general rule that I have. If you have a texture release, what I normally say is your second visit for that texture release, we will concentrate on your roots and we won't put it on the rest of your hair. And then on your third or fourth visit is when we will do it all over the hair, because that's when we expect that the texture release has really rinsed out of your hair, because it does take a long time. Even though it says you can do it every 2 to 3 months, the actual texture release does not leave your hair for, in my experience, about a year. It takes ages to wash out of your hair, so be very, 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 very conscious of that. This section here, I'm going to talk about fine hair and texture release. If you have fine hair and texture release, again, you are the group of people that I would say do not need to do a texture release often, but you're also what I would call high risk. And high risk means that if you do a texture release, you are more high risk of getting, you are at a higher risk of getting heat damage. So lower heat. Use those straighteners that have lower heat. You are the people that I would recommend only using a ceramic straightener at home. I do not recommend you using a titanium straightener. That is not for you. It's too harsh and it will break your hair. So definitely still use lower heat. I'm talking 195 is a happy place for you. 200 at most. 195, 175. If you have color, even lower. Even lower. I don't want you messing with heat too much. And please, 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 please differentiate those hairstyles. If you are dedicated to being a straight natural, that's absolutely fine. But heat protecting is your friend. 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 And regular treatments will also be your friend. And also doing a treatment here and there would really, really help, because you are enhancing your hair and taking it out of its comfort zone every time you straighten it. Even if you have a product that's helpful, you still need to look after your hair. It's a simple routine, but I always say to my clients, do a little treatment every so often, and also straighten that hair at lower heat if you can. Who benefits from a texture release? In my opinion, the people that benefit from a texture release are the people who do the less with their hair. If you are going to do a texture release and you are always going to be in your hair doing something, you may find, just like anybody else that does too much, that you're going to come and get some hiccups. The people in this world who do less always reap the repercussions. That's just a fun fact. I don't do that much to my hair. I wash it, I do a curl cut, I set it, I go about my business. My hair grows, I cut it because I want to. It's not that it doesn't grow. And a lot of people that I know, a lot of clients that I do that have the longest hair, and these are people that were struggling with their hair, they find that their hair is growing. It's because they're following a routine, they're doing their treatments, and they're leaving their hair alone. If you have a texture release and you've opted to go for a straight natural, for example, straightening your hair 3-4 times a week is not going to get you that long luscious hair that you're looking for. In fact, it's going to get you short sides. You need to be able to master wrapping and let your hair revert if it's reverting. A texture release is a helpful treatment. It is not a miracle treatment. It is not a miracle treatment, and it definitely is not a relaxer, because when a relaxer starts to grow out, it grows out. Your hair will grow regardless. So please, 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 please don't overdo it with the straighteners in between touches. If you are straightening your hair, the only day you should be straightening your hair is the day that you wash your hair. So after you've done the texture release, like I said, you need to follow a routine. What I normally do in the salon is we send you a video of how to straighten your hair at home and how to look after your hair with the texture release and what products best work for it. But what I am going to talk about here are the products that best work with the texture release. Texture release is made by Avalon, which is the Keracare. So this is the brand Keracare Avalon, and this is also the brand that sits under the umbrella, and all the products of the texture release and Avalon all fall under that umbrella. So the best products to use for the texture release are the Keracare Affirm range, and you can find heat protectors, creams and everything in that section, and those are the aftercare products that you need to use. You can use other stuff with it, but just remember that sulfates help wash out the texture release quicker, so you want a product that has no sulfates. Things to avoid when you have a texture release. So swimming, if you are a swimmer, I suggest using the swimming cap, and if you do swim with your hair, I don't think anything major will happen, but it is recommended that you use after swimming shampoo. So there are shampoos that get rid of chlorine. If it is something that you're going to be doing regularly, you might have to look at something else to do with your hair, because swimming and texture release don't always match well together. Just depends on how wet your hair gets when you do swimming. If you are a gym girly, I just suggest that you wrap your hair or wear a sweatband, but wrapping your hair is the best bet. Your hair will stay straight, and like I said, just let your hair revert. If it wants to revert, it's fine. Wait until your next wash. Just let your hair do what it wants to do when it comes to the end of that texture release. Please, please, please don't go against the grain of what your hair wants to do, because when you do that is when you come across problems. Having a texture release doesn't mean that you don't moisturize your hair. You still need to moisturize your hair. You still need to do everything that you used to do to your hair. You can still treat it. You can still do all the things. If you have color, we normally say that you can use things like Olaplex and K18 alongside the texture release, but I would wait a couple of weeks after the texture release to do that. And that can be advised by your stylist. So I'm going to get down to some FAQs, and these are questions that I've been asked a ton of times about texture release. One of the first questions is, what products can I use to take care of it at home? So as explained, the texture release do have the Keracare and the Avalon Firm. They also have a texture release aftercare products, so you can also use those. I personally don't love them as much as I do using the Keracare stuff, but it is completely up to you what you use. Will I use my natural curls? You can use your natural, you can lose them. If you overdo it with the straightening, and if your hair integrity is important to you, then you can look at other options. But the texture release itself is not going to change your hair texture. What it will do, it will just enhance how your hair performs. That's it. But if you keep straightening it, if you keep doing the texture release and going over parts that already have the texture release on there, what will happen is that your hair is masked, it covers your hair, it wraps itself around your hair, and it gives the illusion that your hair stays straight. So a lot of the time when people think they have heat damage, what I normally say to them, you have to wait a period of time to see if your hair will revert, because there is a high chance that you still have a texture release on there. But if your hair is fine and it goes straight pretty quickly, there is a high chance that you've heat damaged. How often do I have to redo the texture release? As I've said, it does say it lasts to 10 to 12 washes. Personally, I think it lasts a lot longer, and especially if you're not a girly that washes her hair often. If you wash your hair once a month, the texture release is going to be in your hair for ages. But if you are a person that washes the hair quite often, then around the 3-month mark you are going to start feeling like your hair, the texture release is not in your hair as much as it was before, which is true, but you should still hang in there for another month or two. Does my natural hair have to be long for a texture release? No, all you need is 2 inches of hair to do the texture release. How is it different? How is a texture release different from a relaxer or a keratin treatment? So a relaxer is a permanent change to your hair, and a keratin treatment washes out of your hair. But in my experience, keratin treatments make your hair straighter and doesn't revert as much as a texture release does. And I feel like with a keratin treatment, I tend to use a keratin treatment on those that have more looser curls. Will I feel the difference in my hair immediately? Yes, you will. The texture release has really changed since I first did it. When I first did it, the texture release was something that took ages. Like it took a while for it to kick in, but now straight away, and they've added an extra step. It's gone through at least 2 or 3 changes since then, but it's completely changed now. And honestly, it's one of the best products I've ever tried. I absolutely love the texture release. No one can tell me anything about it. I'm educated in it. I love it. I think it can work for everyone, but you have to have all the information. What I don't want is for clients to be under any illusion that it's a relaxer. I don't want anyone thinking that they're coming in to have this miracle treatment. Nothing is a miracle. Everything has pros and cons, and you just have to weigh them out and see what works for you. But one thing I want is for everyone to be very well informed. Not everyone wants a relaxer, and not everyone wants to be a straight up natural. There has to be a sort of limbo out there, and that's where the texture really sits, depending on how you would like to wear it. I know some people that have never straightened their hair and have had a texture release. I know a lot of clients that the day that they get their hair texture released in the salon is the only day that they're straightening it, and then I don't see them for a year. So it really depends on how you would like to carry your hair, how you would like your journey to be. So the more informed you are, the better. And yeah, I think that kind of covers a lot of the questions that I had. If you want to colour your hair with the texture release, I do recommend that you wait at least a week to 2 weeks, depending on what your hair is like or what's happening with your hair. And last but not least are 5 tips that I would recommend if you're getting a texture release. 1, if you have braids, take them out, let your hair breathe for about a week before you come in for a texture release. Number 2, if you want to have a texture release, I do suggest that you at least get a patch test just to check if you have any allergies, especially if you are a person who is quite sensitive, have psoriasis or anything like that. It would be good to get yourself just a little patch test just to check how the texture release will affect you and your hair. Number 3, it is always best to buy your products first and also have a consultation. Have a consultation, guys. It is okay to interview your stylist. It's okay to go to a stylist and ask them questions about the treatment you're going to have. You're paying the money. It is important that you know what's going on. Number 4, don't overdo it. With everything that I say, don't overdo it. Remember, I'm giving general advice, and you might nip and pick at the different bits in there that relate to you, but don't overdo it. If you want to have beautiful hair, don't overdo it. And number 5, enjoy your hair and actually get to know your hair. Thank you so much to anyone who has watched this video, and hopefully I've added information that can be also added to the previous 3 videos that I've done. And if you have any questions, like I said, write them below and I'll make sure that I answer them. Thanks for watching as always. Thank you so much for supporting my channel. Okay, bye.